Now it's time for Kristina Elfving. You're a pediatrician and a PhD, and your research is focused on infectious diseases and malnutrition. And you are affiliated with Gothenburg University.
Very right. Thank you very much. This is little Musa. I met him in 2007 in my first mission with MSF in the pediatric hospital, Island Hospital, if anyone of you have been there. And he came in. He was born at home and he came in. He weighed 1.1 kilo, he says. It might be that it's a bit smaller. And he's here 1 week old. And this presentation will focus on how is it so that maybe he can benefit from probiotics. At that time, when I came there, they told me, oh, Kristina, we have to do something about the neonates. They're dying too much. And then we gathered together, the nurses there at the pediatric hospital. There were no doctors. And we just took all the neonates and put them in one place, and we called them the neonatal ward. And then we hired a breastfeeding nurse, and we started weighing them. We dusted off this old scale, and we halved the mortality from 35 to, or maybe 20, something like that, %. But this is not the effect of probiotics, but maybe some more. Please, next slide. Ja, det finns en där. Jag trodde att det var next slide som man skulle säga. Då var det... Är det så? Det stora gröna. So, this is an RCT that we're going to conduct in Rwanda, where I'm also the team leader of the undernutrition program that is supported by SIDA, the bilateral program between Sweden and Rwanda. And here, the fact of what Sweden can do, I think this is an example of where we actually can really try to have the RCT Rwanda-based, and it can also really somehow help the local institutions, for example, the Rwanda FDA, to start their new work, because it's quite newly started. So this is a picture that is quite old. It's from a study in PNAS from 2010, but it's just showing you the what happens when a child is born. So the second column here to the left is the bacteria, and all of these colors are genus of bacteria. And the next column is the baby gut microbiome. And you can see it's quite similar, right? And then if you compare the two next, the fourth and fifth column, you see that this is the mom's skin bacteria, and then this is the gut microbiome of the baby after it's born with the cesarean section. And one knows that the microbiome is established early in children and within the first days. And is it so that giving them probiotics, which contains good bacteria, can actually make them survive more, make them have a better nutrition and better growth. And there are a lot of studies on probiotics in the world. And the second one here is the one that you based your recommendations on, the WHO preterm recommendations. So it's probiotics, which contains good bacteria, like, for example, lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. And then it's prebiotics, which is a substance that should promote the growth and the abundance of the good bacteria. The symbiotics, a combination of probiotics and prebiotics. And as you can see, the global meta-analysis, both in high and low and middle-income countries, show that multi-strain of probiotics, with or without oligosaccharides, to preterm low birth weight infants, are associated with reduced all-cause mortality, severe necrotizing enterocolitis, time to full enteral feeds, and days of hospitalization. Sharif et al., that you based your recommendations on, showed that probiotics may reduce the risk of neck and mortality in the very low birth weight infants, and not enough data on the extremely low birth weights. So, what studies are there in low and middle income countries? And let me say, most of the studies are actually in middle income, or the upper lower income spectrum. So, the big study, the RCTs, there are RCTs and meta-analysis, and the RCT that is done in 2017 by Panigrahi et al. Shows that symbiotics then reduces mortality and or sepsis in term infants. And there they use placebo. And then there are two other studies that are smaller, and one is from South Africa. And that is like the general thing that there are almost no studies from Africa conducted. Which it shows here in the meta-analysis here from Deshpande et al. From BMJ in 2015, probiotics reduce the risk of neck, late-onset sepsis, and all-cause mortality. And Thomas et al. Recently came out with an article saying, with very uncertain evidence, that multi-strain probiotics may decrease the risk of mortality in neck. So, this is the recommendation, probiotics here in the middle. And the recommendation is probiotics may be considered for human milk-fed very preterm infants below 32 weeks of gestation. But it should be based on a shared decision-making with parents. It should be clear instructions of use. And they did not recommend it for infants born after 32 weeks because the data was insufficient. So a lot of children born between, that are preterm born between 32 and 37 weeks. It was only recommended for breast milk-fed infants because there were almost no studies on infant-fed formula. So they also consider that type, formulation, dose, timing, and duration should be based on clinical judgment. And who is to judge that? Do probiotics really affect Musa's length of stay? His time to full feed, which is very important, and it's maybe not as much talked about. His risk of neck, sepsis, and mortality. We're going to do the study on 1,500 infants, and the primary outcome is composite outcome of mortality and severe infection. We're not only looking in the first month, but we're also looking throughout the infant's first 2 years. And we're going to recruit at least 2 PhD students in Rwanda, maybe someone in Sweden as well. We hope to get these results out within the 3 years. So this is Musa without the NG tube, without the IV line, and he's going home actually against medical advice, but still. Musa, I always think about him, you know. Maybe what is he doing now? Maybe he's still alive? If that is so, he has a higher risk of diabetes, early hypertension, bad school results, and so on. So we really need to focus on those first parts of the children's lives to make them fantastic adults. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kristina. And now that was the end of the short presentations. But